Libra is going to be asset backed based on, the dollar, the euro, a basket of different currencies. And they're going to have huge control in capital markets. And they're actually, if it really blows up and, you've got, millions, hundreds of millions of people using the token, they could actually affect the price of currencies, because if they dump hundreds of millions of dollars or hundreds of millions of euros, that could even, affect the currency markets. So I thought that was kind of an interesting thing. So that could be a force for good, or they could do some potentially troubling things with that power. What do you think about that?
Yeah, honestly, I think that it's scaring the living daylights out of the developed economies. Really, you can already see that the way that they are reacting in the United States. Senator Maxine Waters saying that we need an inquiry and we need to prevent this. The French have said no, they don't like the idea.
Yeah, I mean, not only developing countries, they're definitely scaring developing countries. They're scaring developed countries. Yeah, I think France, they wanted to regulate it like an hour after the news broke, right?
Yeah, and to be honest, I can completely sympathize with that position that they have, because when you look back to people that were against GATT, for example, or the World Trade Organization, or basically the harmonization of the global culture and the global economy, globalization that we've experienced since the late 80s through the 90s, really accelerating in the 2000s. And now we live in a fairly integrated, globalized world. People like James Goldsmith in the early 90s were completely convinced that this would cause massive social problems. And in many respects, they've been proven right in a small scale. If you look at Brexit, for example, the United Kingdom, you had massive movement of labour into the United Kingdom from, let's say, poor Eastern European countries as a response to like the harmonization of economies. And I think it's caused a certain amount of upheaval. And then if you look at the NAFTA agreement in the United States with Canada and Mexico, along with America, that caused a lot of problems in terms of the manufacturing industries in Canada, as well as the Rust Belt of the United States. And it caused a lot of social problems, which, Trump really appealed to in by and large, in large respects. That has the similarities between Brexit and Trump in some respects. I think that this further globalization of the economy through basically a private corporation is going to accelerate that social upheaval further, and it's going to have unintended consequences, the likes of which that we've never seen before. So I can completely understand why some of the developed countries are just like, whoa, slow down. Let's think about this a little bit more, because I think it's great. I love capitalism. So as a capitalist, I think it's a great idea fundamentally. But as someone who's being pragmatic and then seeing what is likely to happen based on what's previously happened in the past, I think it's quite likely that it's going to have some unintended consequences which we haven't really considered, and one of which brings social upheaval.
Yeah, I think you're right. If through the Libra coin, some of these developing countries are going to be competing with developed countries, and that's not going to make the people in the middle class and the lower middle class very, very happy, because they're going to be able to compete with them and charge a lower rate. So I think that's going to be an issue.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a laissez-faire free market capitalist, you can say, well, the market will correct itself quickly, and then that labor in developed economies can go elsewhere. But in reality, it's very difficult for that to happen when you've got such a regulated economy in the developed economies. So unless the whole world goes ANCAP, which I doubt it will, then it's going to cause some problems.
Yeah, but but
You
it's
know,
hard to regulate the internet. I think, for some things, whatever you're doing, there's so many services you can offer online, and things are being outsourced. Call center, teaching English. Someone in the Philippines is going to charge a lower rate than someone in the UK. So I think it could lead to like wage stagnation, in the developed world. and
yeah,
and how, as far as how it's gonna pan out regulatorily, it's hard to say. I mean, it took Korea quite a while to stop Uber. They finally cracked down on them, but for a while they're just operating illegally and they couldn't stop it. So, will they regulate it? Probably. Can they stop it? Who knows? It's kind of a thing we have to wait and see, I think.